Ladies, don't make the same mistake again. You picked the three-door Thar because it was cooler than any other car. It was also a beautiful way to bully the world around you. But in the bargain, you got bullied back. This five-door Roxx is a much kinder car. It's a massively better Thar. It's a Thar that's got tar on its mind. But keep in mind, it's still not going to be as convenient and as comfortable as a regular car. In music terms, the three-door Thar was like early-day Metallica. Some people loved it, but for everyone else, it just got on their nerves. The five-door Roxx is more like later-day Metallica. Soothing and more enjoyable for more people. Guys, you can now convince your family that the Roxx is as practical as any other SUV in this space. They'll eventually see through the lie. Quite simply, this Roxx is a car I like. But for it to be the right choice for you, you have to have the right mindset and lifestyle. More often than not, a Thar is bought because of its style rather than its abilities. And the Roxx is a lot more Thar because it's bigger than the three-door in every way. From nose to tail, from top to bottom, between the wheels, front to back, and side to side. The Roxx's new dimensions have opened a new dimension for Thar. It has a maturity to it. It has gravitas. I'm hoping this isn't a honeymoon phase and that the Thar's Mawali reputation doesn't creep into the Roxx's life. At least not soon. The Roxx, though, isn't trying to be discreet. Those C-shaped LED DRLs, the shape is fine, but they are so bright that at night you might feel you don't need headlamps. This car doesn't have to shout for attention. It's already that big. From the driver's seat, you'll be looking down at Safaris. You'll be looking at Scorpio Ns and thinking, how tame and sophisticated. And if your tastes veer towards sophistication, then that 6-slot grille and that stepped door line might keep you away. But really, they're there to keep Jeep's lawyers away. The way I think about it is, were the starting chords of Stairway to Heaven copied or not? I don't really care. It sounds good, and this looks rocking. The first time I heard rock music, it was a bit of a shock. Kind of like stepping into the Roxx's cabin. That step up is high. But once you get past that, the cabin is like trip-hop, soothing. The Roxx's cabin is classy and rich. Not by Thar standards, by car standards. And that white leatherette upholstery, I'm not worried about it getting chocolatey when going off-roading. I'm worried about it getting chocolatey with chocolate because that's my constant companion on long drives. And on long drives, this big tank has equipment that's impressive. The screens are sharp and quick. The sound system is rich. It has footwell ambient lighting and ventilated seats. It's got powered ORVMs, 360-degree camera, and level 2 ADAS. All the stuff that you would get in a regular car. But when you look past the stuff and look at the comfort, you realize that the Roxx isn't as good as a regular car. In the front, you're sitting a little too close to the door, while your inside leg is constantly being poked by the center console. At 5 feet 6 inches, I'm the right height to enjoy the Roxx. 4 of me would be reasonably comfortable here. For 6-footers, the front seats won't be great. Headroom is not the issue. The seats are set low, so under-thigh support is lacking, and you'll have to sit stretched out. It's better in the back seat because the seat is higher, but not high enough. Even for me, I don't have enough room to stretch out under the front seats, and so for a couple of hours, I'd be fine. I wouldn't look forward to longer journeys there. And on those longer journeys in the front seats, you look at the door pockets and think, inconvenient. Until you spot the door pockets at the back. Thankfully, Mahindra has been more practical with the boot. On paper, it is larger than a Creta, and in practice, it is much bigger. It can pack in a fair bit. But compared to a Crista or a Fortuner, because of how high the floor is, how the doors open, and the size of the boot opening, it's nowhere near as capacious or convenient. Conveniently, I will now skip back to the Roxx's star quality, and that's in the way it drives. From the very first moment, it starts to feel car-like. The steering is light and precise. The brakes are sharp and easy to use. Because it has a proper roof, the sound insulation and the resulting sense of calm in the Roxx's cabin is exceptional. The three-door Thar, in comparison, is like a Fatawa speaker. It is. It is better than the three-door Thar when you hit the road as well. At the first speed breaker though, you will be reminded that it's not as good as your regular car. Despite that all-new lighter platform, the wider track, the longer wheelbase, the advanced suspension, it's still not as smooth as the other ladder frame vehicles that we are familiar with, the Crista and the Fortuner. So, over speed breakers, you won't be head-banging in the Roxx, but you will rock back and forth a bit. Over lightly broken roads, you will sway a bit. The good news is, you aren't going to be rattled and tossed around. It's a big step up. And over properly broken roads, it will be way better than your regular car, and it's better there than the Scorpio N2. Win. The bigger win with the Roxx is just how casually it can be driven. At highway speeds, you won't be gripping the steering wheel hard, you'll be holding it lightly. Around corners, you can carry pace, which would otherwise make your biceps bulge and chest hair sprout in the three-door Thar. It's because of the new electric power steering. It's because of the new chassis. It's because of the Watt's-Link suspension. It's because they all work well together to make this feel precise and controlled to drive. It's why the Roxx will be more enjoyable for more people in more situations. It's the reason you'll want to drive the Roxx more enthusiastically. And when you do, the ESP will cut in and say, behave, which is honestly good advice. The Roxx's engines are also well behaved. You should think of it as smooth jazz, powerful but relaxing. Whether it's the turbo petrol or the turbo diesel, they never feel like they're straining. The rear-wheel drive variants get a zoom drive mode, which makes it feel zoomy, but a bit out of character for this mature car. The automatic gearboxes aren't the quickest ones around, but they are smooth. Whether it's the city or the highway, the Roxx does not feel stressful. It feels soothing to drive. The fuel efficiency of the Roxx, though, can seem a bit stressful. In the city, the petrol will deliver 7 to 9 kmpl. The diesel isn't much better here, managing 8 to 10 kmpl. Out on the highway, the petrol will improve slightly to about 11 to 13 kmpl, but the diesel makes a bigger step, managing between 13 to 17 kmpl. And it will be the better pick for those who travel longer distances. We've driven the top spec variants with the automatic transmission, which have more power than the manual versions. And so the fuel efficiency would be a bit low. And for a 170 PS something flying brick, the fuel efficiency is understandable. It is understandable that a boxy-shaped machine like the Thar would have wind noise, which it does. But the sound insulating windscreen helps cut it out. And this windscreen isn't available on the base 2 variants. Keep that in mind. What's good is that it gets a lot of safety equipment as standard, and it has fared well in the crash tests. And yes, the Roxx also gets 4x4 hardware, but only with the diesel. But if you really want to go off-roading, get a Jimny instead. They're going cheap right now. If you aren't that serious, then the rear-wheel drive Thar will do just fine. I'm going to say it again. I really like the Roxx. Not for the statement it makes, but for the machine that it is. For an off-road oriented machine, how easy it is to drive, how comfortable it can be, and how enjoyable it is in different scenarios is surprising. But just like how the best rock song can't be as popular as the best pop song, this Roxx can't be the only car in a garage for a family. From Mahindra's own stables, the XUV 700 is a better pick for the family to travel with, more convenient, more efficient, and it is solid value too. But if the XUV 700 just feels too normal, then pick the Roxx and make peace with the compromises. If you do pick the Roxx, you'll be happy to know that it's the classy Thar, and hopefully you'll drive to keep it that way.